All right, so introduction to foam rolling. Foam rolling is super important to release muscle tension and adhesions that occur between the muscle fibers and the fascia that covers each muscle grouping like a sheath, right? So when you have muscle knots, and we call these trigger points, things like that, where you have knots that occur that don't allow proper movement, we want to try to get at those things with various implements like your foam roller here, your foam ball. I've got a couple of solid ones as well that are hard plastic, and they also vibrate at different rates of speed. It's by Hyperice, great company. They make a lot of really good stuff. This stuff is from TriggerPoint Therapy. You know, it's all kind of the same general stuff, but it's going to be really helpful to rid yourself of some of the muscle tension that you might have that might make things difficult in life. For instance, if you're somebody who has an office job, which is probably a lot of you, you got tight hips, you got tight hamstrings, which is the back sides of your legs, you might have hunched shoulders, you might have lower back pain. Things like that are really resultant in muscle tension as a result of sitting in the same position for a great length of time. So one recommendation would be to get a stand-up desk, or to try and take breaks where you can actually stand up and walk away from your desk for a little while to get your body into a different position so you can hopefully not be in that hyper contracted position in some of those areas. But what we're going to go through today is just a little bit of how foam rolling works, okay? So let's say you're using the ball because your quads are super tight, or you're using the foam roller because your quads are super tight. You're going to be working down the front sides of your legs here with the foam roller on the ground, and essentially what that's going to do is it's going to literally act as almost like a rolling pin over the muscles to release them, to sort of force them into submission, so to speak. So you got muscle spindles that are tied up in knots as a result of whatever kind of work it is you're doing or whatever kind of physicality you've been putting yourself through, and this is going to start to help force those muscle fibers into more of a lengthened position, get rid of that muscle knot that's going on there. These will do the same thing, but the smaller the ball or the harder the surface, the more aggressive it's going to be. So rule of thumb here is if you're super tight, you want to start with something that's a little bit softer, a little bit squishier, a little less invasive, so that the muscles get a little bit of love before you work into them with something a bit more aggressive, like a hard plastic vibrating ball, right? If you go straight for the jugular with these, you just might actually make your muscles a bit tighter than they were before, because their response is going to want to be to protect themselves, right? So again, if you're super tight, start with something a little softer. You can even go softer than this, by the way. This has got hard plastic in the middle. You can buy squishier ones that are even squishier than this, you know, so consider that as well. But start with something a little less aggressive and work your way towards things that are going to be a little bit more invasive for the muscle fibers themselves, okay? So that's a quick rundown. There's a lot you can roll inside the body, and as we get further and further into these videos, I'm going to be showing you a little bit more about how these work, different techniques for how to roll them. It's not just rolling across necessarily. There's a lot more to it than you might expect. So stay tuned. Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you soon.